Hey friends, welcome back to Farm Bread. I'm Kate here, and today I am going to share two of my favorite things with you. The first one is going to be my Ankarsrum mixer, and the second is going to be a toasting bread. I really love this toasting bread for toasting in the morning and adding a layer of butter, maybe some cheese or jelly, jam on top. The kids really love this bread, and why I love it so dearly is because it reminds me of my childhood. And so my dad is from Denmark, and I grew up going to Denmark quite often, every few years. And so my grandmother would ride her bike to a bakery every morning, and she'd pick up this local bread at the bakery and she'd bring it back to us. And it had some sesame on it, some sesame seeds on it. And it just, I don't know, I've never found a bread quite like this anywhere else. And it wasn't until I made this recipe that it was like a blast from the past. You know, when you have a moment where a scent or, a taste, something triggers this nostalgic memory for you. And that's what this bread did for me. It's just this wonderful loaf of bread that I didn't even know about it until I got my mixer. And the mixer comes with an awesome recipe book, and I found this bread recipe in that book. So I'll show you that as well. There's so many reasons I love this mixer, but I figured the best way to tell you about it and to show you how it works is to actually make some bread with you. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make this toasting bread that I love with the mixer for you, and we'll go from there. As always, add some comments below if you have any questions. I'm happy to try and answer them for you. Before we get started, I did want to share that there are a couple reasons why I specifically got this mixer. One was I was selling breads pretty frequently, and my current mixer completely just fell apart as I was kneading the dough. It just completely fell apart on me. And it wasn't like a name brand. I got it off Amazon, and it wasn't anything special, but it usually did the trick. Well, I had started to make multiple batches, and so I think I had a batch of 3 loaves going in the mixer, and it just went kaput on me. So I wanted something that was going to be heavy duty, that was going to be durable. I wanted something that was going to have a large capacity, so I could make large batches at once. And I wanted something a little bit quiet because my old mixer was super loud. So those were kind of like the 3 parameters that I was using to determine my search criteria. Of course, I went directly thinking KitchenAid, this and that, but the more research I did, I looked into the Ankarsrum. I have done a lot of research through the Bread Becker's website, and so they had advertised the Ankarsrum, and so I started to look into that. Now I believe it's Swedish. I want to say it's a Swedish brand, and it is a very different way of mixing than just your KitchenAid or my previous mixer, which had the motor up at the top. And so it was a very different train of thought. So what happens, and I'll show you with the Ankarsrum mixer, its motor is in the base, which in return, I think makes it a little bit more durable because you're not worrying about the top portion, the motor or the beaters, getting bogged down with large capacity of dough. It's more that the bowl for the Ankarsrum rotates on the motor in the base, but it's very different. And so there is a bit of a learning curve, but within a week I was up and running very well. I love it for many reasons, but there's definitely, there's a transition period when you first get it. And it can be a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit overwhelming because I was trying to fulfill orders for bread, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't what I'm used to. So it was kind of like gotta learn by fire, trial by fire really fast. And I did, and it is so well worth it. It's definitely worth it. But I did want to add that little bit of background. So I think now, with that being said, what I'll probably do is we'll flip this around and we'll get started making our toasting loaf. And yeah, we'll go from there. So here is the Ankarsrum Mixer. And you can tell just right off the bat, it looks a little bit different, right? It comes in pretty colors like the KitchenAid. And so I got this beautiful blue. So I just keep it plugged in into the corner outlet, and then I can just pull it out pretty easily onto my counter when I'm going to mix. One thing I absolutely adore about this is it comes with a plastic bowl lid that fits pretty flush. And so when I'm actually making sourdoughs, anything, I love using this bowl as my mixing bowl. And then I just put the lid on. I don't need to worry about using a damp cloth or plastic wrap. This suffices. So I have to say, I love this addition that comes with it. Now we're going to look down in, and you'll see these are this mixer comes with a lot of stuff. This is the bread roller, which I was not familiar with before getting this, and it's really all I use with my doughs now. You use it with, this is just like a bench scraper, it helps you clean it. And then this is a blade that kind of fits along the edge of the bowl so that it scrapes the sides as you're mixing. What a genius thought, right? So that is just an easy attachment. Look, the bowl, it's completely flat on the bottom, right? So it actually just, you can see how it fits down on. Everything is made really well. These are really high quality materials, and so it just fits right down. Pop it right down on the base. This is the speed control. You can turn it all the way up, or there aren't numbers. It's just a feel. And then also we have the on and off switch here, and then a timer. So you can actually go up to 12 minutes. You can set it as a timer for 12 minutes, which is nice. Here is the attachment that comes over, and what you do is you put this roller or whatnot onto here, and then you can adjust it in the back to the position that you want. And you'll see when we actually make the dough, we're going to use a couple different positions. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there as well. But that's it. That's the body. You'll see in the back, it actually has an attachment area if you want to attach like a meat grinder or a food processor. I don't have any of those attachments, but you can do that right there. And then it also comes with this bowl, which I've used for making whipped cream with these beaters. A couple different types of beaters. So yeah, it actually comes with a lot for the price point. It's kind of nice because it's not one of the less expensive items out there. It's definitely a more expensive mixer, but you get what you pay for with the quality of the parts and with the actual final product too. So here is the recipe book that comes with the mixer, and I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't actually know it came with it, and it was such a fun treat when I got the box. It has a lot of different things, and because I talked about the slight learning curve when first starting out, like this is actually really helpful. It's really nice to have a book that kind of guides you. And what I would say is, I would recommend maybe when you first get the mixer to try to use one of these recipes or two of these recipes. Like if you're going to get the mixer for bread, try a bread recipe so you can understand how the mechanism works for when you want to try your own recipe that's not in the book, because it will help you in determining what tools to use. Like I said, when I had the mixer before this one, I solely used a bread hook, but actually now that, and let me show you that. This is the bread hook that comes with the mixer. It's kind of super heavy because it's made really well. It's good material, but it's a little awkward. I should maybe put a hook to hang it. So I have it over here with my bread baking items. But what I would say is to maybe do your first few runs with the mixer using recipes in this recipe book. And I think that will help you, help guide you so you get a good feel for the mixer and how it's working. So that when you actually want to try your own recipe, it will be a lot easier for you. So now in the table of contents, you'll actually see, yeah, there's like a lot more than just bread, right? You've got dinners. This mixer comes with so many different attachments that you can make sausages, you can make pasta dough, you can do, there's a blender to make smoothies and milkshakes, and sauces, desserts, whatnot. Like I said, I use the other beaters in the plastic clear bowl to make whipped cream. So yeah, not all of these attachments come with it. So some of these are add-ons that you have to pay separately for, just so you know. But yeah, so this first item right here, the toast bread, is what I'm gonna make today. And I will flip to it. It's 12 to 29. I probably have it saved with my little, there we go. Yep, look at that. So this is what it looks like. And I usually do alternate between poppy seeds and sesame seeds. Sometimes I've just left it plain without any seed on it. I think my kids prefer I think my oldest likes the sesame seeds, and then my youngest likes the poppy seeds. And then you can really add any seed that you want. You don't have to just follow the recipe exactly. But this is the recipe, and look how they have the standing position. So I showed you that little knob on the side for the mixer and the blender, that you actually lean the mixer like on the side. So here you have it upright. You use the metal bowl with the dough knife and the dough roller. So it's really great how they show you which attachments to use. The first few steps are to assemble the Assistant with the stainless steel bowl, the dough knife, and the dough roller. So I'll just do that really quickly. I'll put the dough knife in the side, and as you can see, I have to pull the nut lever up, pull this over, attach the dough roller, which is really easy, and then you just let it fall. It's on a spring, so it automatically is just going to fall back. I don't know if you can see. There we go. So you see how it's on a spring, it just automatically falls back, and this rubber rim here is going to align with the rim on the metal bowl. So that's actually how, as the bowl spins, this spins with it. Okay. So step 2, I actually need to get out a saucepan and heat some milk. What I usually do is use my my scale to measure the ingredients. I definitely prefer using a scale when baking, when possible. It's just a lot easier and saves a lot of steps. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get a saucepan out and fill it up. So the recipe calls for 4.5 cups of milk, or 1,000 milliliters. So right now I am adding 1,000 milliliters to our pan. I prefer organic ingredients, so this is a organic 2% milk. There we go. I'm using an 100% organic, high gluten bread flour that I special ordered. So I have a large container of it. I will be using that, and I'm going to measure it using our scale. So I'll put our bowl on. I'm going to change our unit to grams, and I'm going to zero it out. And we need about 1,500. And then we'll see how much more we need from there. So that should be good. Right now that's at 1505. Let's put that up. Our milk is now ready, so I am going to pour it in. It reached 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so I've got my milk in the bowl already, and then it calls for about 3 tablespoons plus a teaspoon of active dry yeast. Just eyeball it. All right. Now I'm going to make sure that I'll show you down here, make sure that my knob is on low, and I'm going to turn this on. And I'm just going to mix it. Now what's really neat about this mixer is as it's running, I can pull this end to the center to make sure that any ingredients that are getting stuck in the center move around to the outside, or the outside edges of the bowl. And that's something that you're going to be doing pretty frequently when you have this, when you're mixing ingredients, just to make sure that everything gets incorporated. Okay, and now I need to let this sit until it gets the yeast gets foamy, so for about 10 minutes. The third step is going to be adding the butter, the sugar, salt, and half of the flour. It says about 7 tablespoons of salted butter, and then a tablespoon of sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of salt, and then again our flour, which is roughly 12 to 13 cups of flour. We're going to do half of that at first. So I have let the yeast sit in with the milk, and now I'm going to add my butter. So this again is like about 7 tablespoons of, I'm actually using melted butter. It says room temperature, but I found that it starts to melt in the mixer anyways. I'm also adding 1 tablespoon of sugar, and then I am also going to add 1.5 tablespoons of salt. You know, all my ingredients, by the way, are organic, except the butter this time might not be. I'm using pink Himalayan sea salt, so this is 1.5 tablespoons. And then I'm going to add half the flour. So I'm just starting to add the flour to the bowl, and then I will turn it on once I have about half of the flour and let that start to mix. I'm still adding my flour. Let's say that's probably close to half. So now I'm gonna start slow on low. And wait, see here. Can you hear how quiet this mixer is? It's really amazing. My other one was so loud. I love how quiet this one is. And this is a low speed. It will get a little bit louder as I turn up the speed, but I have to say I'm really impressed with the sound level. So I'm just gonna gently, you can see that it starts to come up. Now what I've noticed when I have a large batch, it will come up pretty far. So the first time I did this, I think I had it coming up really high. And what I noticed is what I need to do is just pull it out. It won't do that if I pull it out. So I'm actually going to now pull this out a little bit, about 1 inch. And what I do is I tighten it in the back here so that it can't move closer to the rim. So now it's not moving close to the rim. The dough is going to help. The dough, the propulsion of the bowl rotating, and the dough inside is what actually is spinning this now. So I can turn this up a little bit. Like a medium low. Try to incorporate these ingredients, and even though this arm is fastened, I can actually still pull it out into the center to get some of the dough that's collecting in the center. So I can move it this way, I just can't move it backwards, which is a really neat idea. I like that function a lot. So now I'm just going to slowly add, I'm going to turn it back down to low as I add the rest of my flour. So the directions say to add the remaining flour until 1 cup is left. If that's when you need to use some intuition and just kind of see, like, does this seem really sticky, or does it seem like it's at a good spot where it's coming together nicely, and you might be adding too much flour if you add any more. So you really need to kind of use your own judgment and trust your instincts here, which I think comes in all the time that I make bread, which I think is one of the really neat things about making bread, is you can't really follow a recipe specifically because there's so many variables and factors that go into it, like the temperature of the water or milk, all, you know, the humidity in the air. There's so many different variables that it's really important that you take the time to just kind of notice where your bread is at or where your dough is at, and then make adjustments as you see fit. So you can kind of see how this is starting to push out. The dough is pushing this I forget what you call it, this wand out into the center as the dough goes around it, which is a really neat way to mix everything together. So what I'm going to do is actually, because there's a lot here, I'm going to move it out a little bit farther, so it's maybe like 2 inches from the edge. That's going to help it a little bit as I start to turn it up. And this wand is helping to scrape the side, or this dough knife is helping to scrape the side. It also helps make sure that the dough is pushed in towards the center so everything's mixing well. It looks like it's still a little bit wet, so I'm going to add a little bit more flour. I probably have, I've got about almost a cup left, maybe three quarters to a cup left. And now here we can use our trusty bench scraper that they gave us. This kind of helps to go in and get some of the dough off the top here. Probably using the handle here, but it still works. And you can also scrape off your dough knife if you're starting to get dough to accumulate on your dough knife. But I have noticed that if you let it sit long enough, it will actually do it on its own. Okay, I'm going to touch it. That feels pretty sticky. I'm going to add a little bit more flour. And then I'm going to let it knead. Maybe like probably just put in about a half a cup. See how it's getting stuck? Well, that's because there's so much flour in there. You just let it do its thing, and then I'll turn it up. Push it a little bit. I can pull the knife out a little bit to help it go. There it goes. Use this to help it move through. Now it's starting to go. Yep. That's definitely at a consistency. So I have about a half of a cup of flour left over that I'm not going to put in here. You can see that the flour is getting incorporated. So now I'm going to set it to medium. You can hear it's a little bit louder, but it's not terrible. Still better than my old mixer, which actually would walk off the counter as well. And I'm going to set the timer. Here, let me show you. I'm going to set the timer. There's a 4 mark, it goes up to 8, and then 12. We're going to do 8 minutes like this. I might move this out a little bit more. So you can see it rotating around. You can see how I have the arm about 2 inches from the edge, but the dough still is allowed to move it in when it needs to. And here you can see how the dough knife is working on the side to help keep the dough between the roller. As it cleans the side of the bowls, it also helps with the mechanism of keeping the dough circulating and kneading. So I just want to point out, if you look at the dough, look how clean the bottom of the bowl is. It's really impressive. You can see how the dough has all come together. It's just being kneaded at this point. All right, and it's done. So our 8 minutes are up. Now I'm just going to take out the dough knife. I'm going to take this out, the dough roller, and then I will put the lid on. So I will first loosen the swan so that I can pull this up, let it go back to its resting position, push this back down, which is super easy. Take out the roller, then I'm going to take out the dough knife, make sure that any left dough can scrape it off. That's stuck. That comes out really easy. And then I'm just going to put our dough into the center. It's already in a ball shape, so I'm just going to make sure it's just in the center of the bowl and cover it with our awesome lid here. So now I'm just going to let it sit. It says doubled in size, about 30 minutes to an hour. So it's not a huge rising time, essentially because it is with a yeast instead of a sourdough starter. But yeah, so this is also a good bread if you want to make something quick on the weekends like I'm doing today. We had basketball earlier. So I had a lot going on where I couldn't bake sourdough this morning. And so I thought, you know what, this would be good to make today. We'll have the bread this evening or by tomorrow morning for breakfast. All right, so I'm gonna let this sit 30 minutes to an hour. Our house is roughly 70 degrees, 68 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And so if I want to speed up the rise time, I will put this on top of our stove under the light. If I'm not in a huge hurry, like today, I'm just gonna leave it right here on our counter and check back probably in 30 minutes to an hour. And then we'll go from there. All right. Okay, you can see how much this has risen. I think this is just about ready. Our timer hasn't gone off. It's been about 24 minutes, but clearly if the dough is rising up this much, we're almost, if not already at double in size. And so this dough is about ready to start to shape into 4 loaves. All right, so here's my daughter, Blake. Hi, Blake.
Hi.
She wants to help. She wants to take the lid off. So we're gonna take the lid off. Sometimes it's a little bit stuck on the dough, so it can be a little, gotta tug a little bit, but you can see, wow, this is a lot of dough. It's clearly doubled in size. So this is looking really good. So now we're gonna empty this onto the counter and I'm going to separate it into 4 loaves. Now what I am gonna say is the directions say to put flour on the surface, so to put this on a floured surface, but I typically like to shape my loaves on a clean surface that's unfloured. And because this dough is so nice and not sticky at all, I don't have to really worry about it sticking to the counter. Okay, so here we go. We are going to lift this off. I'm gonna set it down for a second while I push our mixer back. Okay, so now we are going to roll up our sleeves and we're gonna empty this onto the counter. So gently pull it out. We don't wanna punch it down too much. And what we're gonna do is try to make a big rectangle. Look how clean that bowl is. Isn't that wonderful? You can get the sides.
The sides aren't as fluffy.
Okay. Set this to the side. And so now I'm going to take the dough and I'm going to make a big rectangle. Now here's where I am going to bring our scale. Oh, are you getting the, oh, thank you, Blake. Blake's getting a bench scraper, which is a great way to cut the loaf, and I'm going to get our scale. So I use my scale because I want to be able to measure out about roughly the same size for each loaf. So again, I got to zero it out. It's on grams, which is great. So I'm going to cut the loaf in the center. Yep. And then I will cut it again. Here, you want to do this one?
Yeah.
Cut it, each of these rectangles again in half so that we have 4. Yep, that's good. I'm gonna push really hard. There we go. Good. 1, 2. Here, no, here. Hold on, because this sometimes the center is going to be larger than the edge, so you want to just try to get it as even. So I would say like right here, no, a little bit more, yeah, like right there. Good. Okay, so now we're just going to weigh each one because I want to see where they're falling at weight-wise. Where is a good spot to put this? Okay, so now we're just going to see if I can turn this a little bit. So we're at 0, that's 670. Oh, okay, we'll do that one. I am fine. These are all roughly the same. So now I'm just going to shape each loaf and then we're going to put them on a pan. All right, so to shape each loaf, so now I'm just going to kind of roll these out a little bit into like a nice, I'm not putting too much pressure. Essentially, I'm rolling it out like that. Trying to get them about the same thickness for their entire length. Okay, so we've got 4 here. Now I'm just going to transfer these to our baking sheet with a layer of parchment. Now I'm just going to lay each of our loaves out on our pan. Go. Perfect. So now that we have our loaves in our on our baking sheet, I'm just going to brush the sides. Actually, I think what I usually do is just brush the whole top. The directions say to brush the sides with butter because, as I mentioned earlier, they will start to rise and the sides will start to touch. And when they cook, the sides will also be touching as they cook, which is why they look so beautiful. You know, when you pull them apart, they have that beautiful look with the sides that have been up next to each other. But so I just do like a nice wash of butter on top so that there will be no sticking when we do want to pull the loaves apart. There we go. Now we are going to let them rise for 20 minutes. So I will cover them with a flour towel. And I typically like to put them on our stove over here. So I'll actually put them up on our stove to rest, and I'm gonna let them rise for about 20 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to turn our oven on, and let me see what we're gonna bake at 425. So I thought I would share a fun little hack for you. I am going to be using organic sesame seeds and poppy seeds. We use sesame seeds for all sorts of things when we're cooking and baking. And one thing that I will do is I have a bulk bag that I purchased on Amazon of organic sesame seeds. And so I'll keep this container, and I just, every time we run out of our sesame seeds, I will refill it from that bulk bag. And so I do that with a lot of our other items that we use really frequently too, like cumin or nutmeg, garlic powder. So just a nice little hack, because one of these bottles is like $5 if we're lucky at the grocery store, whereas I think it's about a pound of organic sesame seeds come in bulk for like $9.99 or $12. It's a really great way to be more cost effective when you're trying to work with organic and high quality ingredients. Okay, our bread is just about ready, so I am going to mix up one of our girls' beautiful eggs, because we're going to do a light egg wash on top. And then we are going to sprinkle the seeds on top after we do the egg wash. So I just put about a teaspoon of water in with our egg, and now I'm going to brush our bread with it. I'll show you what our bread looks like right now too, after it's risen for 20 minutes. Okay, so I can tell our bread has risen. We are ready. You can see how much they've risen. They've each risen. I'll move it a little bit closer, and I'm gonna do the egg wash now. My oven is already set to 425, so they are ready to go in. Oh wait, I forgot. I gotta add our seeds. So again, I'm just sprinkling organic sesame seeds right now. I'll do 2. And then I'll do 2 of the poppy seeds. Obviously the egg wash helps the seeds to adhere and stick on the loaf. Okay, now they are ready to go in. All right, so they are on the middle rack in the oven. I need to clean my oven. So I'll let them bake here for 30 minutes at 425. So this is cooking really nicely. We have about 3.5 minutes left. All right, our timer just went off. Whoo, all that steam. So I am going to actually need, I think I need 2 hands to get these out because they are actually pretty heavy. So I'm gonna put the camera down, take these out, and take it from there. Look at these, aren't they gorgeous? So look at this beautiful golden color. Beautiful egg wash with sesame seeds and poppy seeds. Oh, this is so yummy. I wish you could be here to smell how good this smells. They're just such a great loaf, and it's irresistible not to cut a slice immediately. The instructions tell you to take them and put them on a wire cooling rack, which I have set up over here. So I'm just going to shift these over onto the rack and then cover with a tea towel. I think while they're cooling, I may have to open one up for you though and show you just how delicious these are. And then I'm actually going to just slide the parchment out as well, just so there's not too much steam and moisture trapped. And I'm gonna cover with that tea towel again while they cool. Okay, so I just went in and I separated each loaf a little bit. That's just to help them cool. But I just wanted to show you like how easily they just pull apart with this dough mixture, but also with adding that butter in between really helps to separate them easily. So I'm just gonna let them cool like this. I'm actually gonna cut one open because I cannot wait, and who doesn't love warm bread right out of the oven? Okay, so this one had some little overlapping here, so I'm gonna open this one up first. You can't resist, so we are going to get a picture of this as we try it. But I just wanted to show you this beautiful crumb. I don't know if you can zoom in, Blake. Blake is my cameraman, my camera woman. Here. So you can kind of see how beautiful that looks. It's so fluffy. It's not dense, it's very light on the inside. And you can see that the crumb really isn't that thick around the edges. It's really a wonderful bread. And it smells so good right now. So we are going to have some, and I'll cut Blake a slice. I like the heel, she likes slices. All right, Blake?
Yeah.
All right, we'll put some butter on this and we'll be good. Actually, here. Yummy. Blake is spreading some butter on hers. All right, Blake, what do you think?
That's good.
Good? Oh my goodness. Okay, slow down. Thumbs up. Oh my gosh, that was so good. So, thank you so much for watching. We're gonna keep eating some of this bread. If you have any questions about the Ankarsrum Mixer, where to get it, you can get it off Amazon. I will be happy to post a link below. I think price point is around $750 right now, so it's really not a super cheap mixer, but like I said, I think the quality is really unsurpassed. Just the quality of the material are just stellar. And so I actually asked my husband for it for Christmas. It was a really nice Christmas gift that he got for me a few years ago. And so do some research, and perhaps it's something that you might be interested in for, you know, the next holiday season or a birthday present or something like that. So yeah, I guess again, thank you so much for watching, and happy bread making.